Hey, Coach. Aaron Beard with the Associated Press, based out of Raleigh. I'm curious what role you see the NIL changes, how that fits into the world of recruiting, how much you've thought about how you may use that in a pitch when you're trying to get an athlete to come to Clemson.
I don't see it changing a whole lot as far as what we do. The goal of our program is graduating young men, developing great men, equipping them with tools for life, making sure they have a good experience and win a championship. And that's been that way since 2009, and I don't see that changing one bit. This is just another one of those tools that we have to help come alongside and equip them with. We've been doing Paul Journey for 12 years, and Paul Journey is a curriculum, and it has been for a long time. We've been doing financial literacy, agent education, all these things for 12 years. And there's a couple other pieces we need to add to that. We've got internal teams, external teams. We've made it as easy as we can possibly make it. The biggest thing is help them, educate them, equip them, and help them navigate any opportunities that some of them may have. And so, like I said, the goal, the target has not changed at all. I think kind of like a bowling alley right here, if we all know what we're trying to do, as a program, we got to kind of be the bumpers, so that we can make sure they hit the target, because these are young people, and this is a different dynamic, and, easy for maybe some of them to lose focus on maybe the long term and get distracted maybe by the short term. So our job is to educate, equip, help them navigate, make sure they got every resource that they could possibly need, and make sure we hit the long-term target that we're all
Coach, right side about midway up. Just, sir, if you stand, thank you.
Cortland Griffin, the three-point conversion. Coach, you were a little apprehensive about the NIL at first. It seems that your sentiments have changed, but you are one of the top programs in the nation. How can you elaborate on how you're going to help players, or if players, your players that you currently have on the roster, want to approach other companies, or companies approach them, how you're going to facilitate that?
Yeah, well, I've never been apprehensive about NIL. That's not the story. People hear what they want to hear, and then they write what they want to write, and then people believe what they want to believe. So my comments were, I'm against the professionalization of college athletics. Always have been, always will be. I'm for education, graduating and equipping young people through the game of football for life. It's what it's always been about for me. It's what it's always going to be about in college football. This has not changed the collegiate model. This just is common sense. So to say that is inaccurate. All right, this is common sense. If a young guy wants to go do an autograph signing, if a guy wants to go back and do a camp in his hometown, I worked all through college. There was never a day I didn't work on my time. I cleaned gutters, umpired, cut grass, sold Cutco knives. I worked nonstop all through college. And for our kids to not have the opportunity to work on their time, I've never agreed with that. That's a common sense thing to me. I would have liked more to have been done through the scholarship, to be quite honest with you, because then everybody could participate. NIL is going to be for some, not for everybody. But we can't facilitate. We can educate, we can navigate, we can equip. We've got an entire educational library. July 1 didn't just get here and go, okay, we'll figure this out. This has been something that we've been prepared for a long time and built for, like I said, through our Paul Journey program for 12 years. So appreciate your question, but the beginning of it's not accurate.
Coach, right in front of you, first row.
Dan Tortora, wakeupcalldt.com. Coach, you have never shied away of being a strong man of faith and publicly speaking on that. What has this past year and a half taught you, and how do you use it as a leader?
What has it taught me? I think just a even more deeper appreciation for life, for family, for the ability to do what you love to do with people that you love doing it with, the little things, you know, I mean, just a deeper appreciation for that, I think, is more than anything, but most of all that hey, God's still on the throne, you know, you know, it's, my word last year was faith, and I had no idea, I don't ever know why my word is my word, but last year it was faith, and certainly grew in my faith through this past year, and, you know, thankful that I've got a God that is there all the time and available 24/7 and has paved the path for all of us.
Coach to the right side here in the second row.
Joe Hughes, Gaston Gazette. You got some good news over the summer. Justin Foster is coming back. How happy are you to have him back on your defense, and how's his progress?
He's doing great, and, you know, which is why he came back. And I tried to talk him out of it in January, just saying, let's just, you know, why don't we let's just give it some time here. But he was ready to get out. He had a job. He was, you know, ready to kind of go. And but in May, he called me and said, Coach, is there a chance I could still come back? I feel great. He'd been training, he'd been running, and, you know, things had turned around for him, and absolutely, you know. So he's just a great young man. He's one of the most respected guys on our team. Incredibly smart. He's a graduate. He is a tough, hard-nosed football player, and so he just brings invaluable depth and experience and leadership to that position. So with him back, we have 5 starters at defensive end, and just really, you know, thankful, and I'm happy for him, you know, to be able to, you know, end his career, and you know, he's a guy that'll have a chance to play at the next level. So to be able to see him just kind of get back to a good place, because it was a really hard year for him, and so I'm thankful and grateful that he is where he is now.
We're going to stay on the right side. This time we're going to go all the way to the back of the room. David, if you would please stand. Thank you.
Dabo, David Teal with the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Did you attend Jack Swarbrick's playoff presentation last night? And if so, did it allay or perhaps even affirm some of the concerns you voiced to your local media the other day?
Well, yeah, I was there, and man, he did a phenomenal job. And I will say this, the 4 people that, I can't remember who all it was, but the 4 people who I guess authored it and put the presentation together and spent 2 years, you know, just trying to study and come up with something and research, take the charge that had been given to them, I guess, by the presidents or the committee or whatever. They did a phenomenal job, but no, it doesn't change my stance at all. And again, my opinion, it doesn't mean anything, because that train's left the station. You know, I think sitting around and talking about what this coach thinks or that coach is a waste of time at this point. I think expansion of the playoff is inevitable. I think the conversation needs to be, how do we get it right for the player? End of the day, how do we save the bowls? I think we're past the point of, you know, not that that's a foregone conclusion that it's 12 teams or whatever. I think there's a long way to go and a lot of conversation to be had on what's going to happen. But I think expansion is going to be inevitable, and you know, money's driving that, and I assume that's what the fans want. But I think most importantly, what do the players want? And, you know, to ask these guys to have to show up earlier, to have no open dates, to have no break between a championship game and another game, to play more games, I don't think that may be what's best for the money, maybe what's best for the fans. I don't think that's what's best for the player. And, you know, that's my opinion. Nothing changes. So I think if we're going to expand, I think you should talk about the season as well. You know, maybe you go to 11 games instead of asking these guys to play more. And having been there to say, you know, I can just visualize being in Tampa after beating Alabama with 1 second on the clock, and then being out there at Levi Stadium, and you've been in a championship game, you've been in a playoff game, you've been in a national championship game, and now you sit there and you look at these guys and say, all right, guys, we got one more, you know, and you're just spent. I mean, you're exhausted. What it takes at that level, and when people say, well, it's just one more game, to me that is a total lack of appreciation for what it takes to win a game, to prepare for a game, to play in a game of that magnitude. Because when you get to that level, you're talking about the best of the best, the elite of the elite, and these guys all have, at that level, they have NFL aspirations, and a lot of them are going to play in the NFL. So, you know, you got combines, you got a lot going on, and, you know, so I think there's a lot of discussion. It was a fantastic presentation. He did an awesome job. But again, we'll play with whatever system, whatever rules we got. I was not for a 4-team playoff. So it's not like anything has changed for me. I just want the players to be considered in that. And we should not ask more of the player, in my opinion.
Coach, your last question will come right up the center aisle to the right.
Coach Swinney, Richmond Weaver, WSC and Rich Take on Sports. And why is it so important for you to bring back former players like the recent news of Taj Boyd joining your staff and what they bring to your staff?
Well, I mean, you know, Clemson is Clemson family. We've talked about that from day one. We built our program, and you know, I love being able to give a former player opportunity where it's warranted. You know, it's been cool to see so many guys pursue coaching. I got another one right over here that's going to be. I mean, he's like Pete Rose this year. He's player coach, but you know, Skowski's going to be a coach whenever he's done. And I love being able to nurture that. I love giving former players opportunities. I think there's nobody more invested in your program than those who've, you know, put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And so, you know, all the way from Tony Elliott, who I coached, who was a captain for me, and you know, I think we've got 22 former players that are either full-time coaches, coordinators, Paul Journey, strength conditioning, player development, analysts, whatever it may be. And I think their perspective is priceless. They've lived it. I mean, they've done it. And most all of them played for me. And so, you know, I'm not here if it wasn't for the player. And so for me to be able to give a guy an opportunity that played for me is a big deal. I'm also here because Gene Stallings gave me the opportunity. You know, he gave me, he could have given that opportunity to a lot of people, but he gave the opportunity to me. You know, because I had played for him for 3 years. I had been a GA for him for 3 years. And then boom, he hired me full time after that. But without that opportunity to be that graduate assistant, that opportunity to learn under him and to come in and work, you know, I'm probably not standing here for sure. So to me, I love giving former players the opportunity and again, the perspective that they bring to your team.